That's it.
We're live.
Got it. Oh no, he's gone. Oh my goodness. What did we do? Hang on just for a minute. Hello, welcome Facebook land. Something clever's just happened that I've just put us on live and it instantly threw Kieran out of the room.
You gotta love Zoom, haven't you?
Zoom went, you can go live, but you can't have Kieran. You just talk for an hour by yourself.
Do you know, Ruth, I'm sure you're quite capable of doing it.
Ruth, can you have a conversation with yourself? Absolutely darn tootin' so yes, hello, welcome Facebook land. This is Ruth at Autistic Parents UK, here with another live with Kieran Rose, who I won't call beautiful this time because it upset him. I'll call him marvellous, the marvellous Kieran Rose. So we have with us today. I've got a couple of questions here for Kieran. If you haven't watched these before, I field some questions to Kieran and then we tend to go off on a bit of a tangent and talk
and not answer the questions.
And not answer the question. But we'll try our best. But if there's any questions that you have got that come up for you, either in relation to what we're already discussing, or if there's just something that you would like to pose to Kieran, then please feel free to do that. Pop that in the chat box. I don't have an assistant today, and following the live chat is not something that I've historically done, but I will try my best. I'm sure that we will manage. So I tell you what I wanted to start off with today. Our last one, we ended up talking quite a bit about school, and we were talking about EHCPs and EOTIS and helping our children thrive in school, and also for us as parents, how we could manage with what can be quite a complicated system. So I thought that we could start off by talking about thriving as home edders this week, and about that other educational option that is out there, because I know you've had experience of it and I've had experience of it as well. So what do you think would be your top tip for, as a parent, what would be your top tip for thriving while home-edding your kids?
I guess it would depend on what stage you're at in terms of being a home editor as well. And you know, there are a lot of people coming to this very new at the moment, actually, because they're finding out that their kids have realised that being at home is an option, that you can be schooled at home, and it's actually much nicer than being schooled at school for many children. So my first thing for the people kind of that are new to this, that there's always that feeling that you have to replicate school at home in some way, and that you need set lessons and they need to be doing set subjects, and you have to be worrying about this and that in terms of kind of curriculums and things, and that actually puts a lot of parents off of home edding and making that step, because the expectation is that that's what you have to do, and in actual fact that's not what you have to do at all. That's not what, I mean, it can be if that's what works for you and your child, but when we're talking about autistic children particularly, some do need that sense of structure. So there does need to be that structure there for some children. But for a lot that are really good at self-directed learning, actually making it experiential is a much, much better way of meeting their kind of their monotropic needs, because you're just going with their flow and following what they're interested in at a particular time. And I'm seeing this with my youngest now, actually, that they've never had a real kind of interest in science. And I think looking at it now, because we're doing lots of science at the moment and lots of experiments and things like that, but it's actually the process of, you know, having to write down what your equipment is and going through all of that, like all the boring side of it, which is necessary, it's important, but that doesn't have to be there straight away, because sometimes doing the explosive bit, I like to call it the explosive bit, even when it's not, because it makes it sound good. And doing that, I mean, we were setting off bicarbonate rockets yesterday, like in the garden, and making things explode with bicarbonate of soda and vinegar and stuff. And, you know, so that was fun. So then to make them sit down and have to write about that is sucking the kind of fun out of it a bit.
Yeah, and especially when you've got a real, you know, for teachers, some of the benefit of getting children to write it down is that you're probably teaching 30 children, and some of those kids didn't get what you were talking about when you set the experiment off. And so if you're getting them to write it down, you can be sure, you can measure it, can't you? You can be sure that they understood what the experiment was about. Whereas when you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, a small group of kids, you can just have a chat. And you can just be like, wow, isn't it exciting that this reacts with that, and it creates an explosion, and what else can we think that might do that? How might that be used in the real world? What kind of things use that in the real world using explosive force? And you can get quite a lot of quite deep learning without ever setting pen to paper.
Yeah. And then that's the experiential side of it, isn't it? And it's kind of, it's like from an outside perspective, you might look at a family that goes, their average week, not a lot of them might happen. They might go on a trip somewhere or do something and go, but they might say, well, we'll go to the seaside. That's not educating. They just sat and played sandcastles all day. But the conversations that have gone on whilst that happening, that's where the education is, and that's where the learning is. And it comes back to something I always say, that school and education are not synonymous.
Yes.
Learning and education and school are not synonymous things. And it can be fun. And it doesn't have to be the boring, like, here's your printed out piece of paper that tells you exactly what you have to do. And things can go wrong, and it's okay that they go wrong, because then you can go back and try again. And those are things that actually you don't get to do at school. If an experiment doesn't work, you don't get to come back and do it again the next day, because that's it. You've moved on now. You're on to the next thing. So there's much more freedom and flexibility. And that probably terrifies a lot of people that need to hit that freedom and flexibility. But once you get past that initial stage of anxiety around it and taking that expectation away from yourself, and it's a bit like we talk about, thriving autistic or neurodivergent people at home, and what that feels like and what that might look like, and being authentic within ourselves and all of that kind of thing. It's exactly the same thing. It's exactly the same process you need to go through to give yourself permission to relax into it and lean into it and actually enjoy it yourself. And I went to school and I didn't learn a lot, because I struggled so much at school, not with the academic side of things, but I struggled with physically being at school and the experiences there. I went back to school as a learning support assistant and became an HLTA, and spent a very long time, spent over a decade supporting children in school. And I actually learned more as an adult sitting with the children about the things that I should have learned when I was at school. And now I'm learning it all again in a different way, because we're doing it differently. And I can now pull things together and say, oh, actually now I understand why that works, or why this happens and why that happens. And that's because I'm experiencing it with my youngest, and it's nice and it's fun. But again, home education comes with a lot of privilege as well, doesn't it? And it's
and there are potential downsides. Particularly as an autistic adult, it does mean that you have to specifically carve in breaks. Because you can end up, just from the moment your eyes open to the moment your eyes close, you have just got children around you all the time, all day, every day. Oh, here's Rachel. Excellent.
Rachel's here.
And that can be exhausting. It doesn't mean that you don't love your kids. It doesn't mean that you're not a good parent. Everybody needs a brain break, and autistic people particularly, we need to conserve our spoons. So sometimes you need to have right, on this day I'm leaving the house, or my children must leave the house. And so either I can do this, or I can just gaze vacantly into space and recharge, kind of thing.
I do that a lot.
I think it's one of the things that I found easier as the years have gone on, partly because my children are older, and partly because, as you say, you can relax into home educating, is that we have days off, and we'll probably have at least one day off a week, and quite likely 2 days off a week, and sometimes we have more than that if the kids need it, or if I need it, quite frankly, where we really, really do very, very little. My minimum is that you must brush your teeth and you must brush your hair every day, but you don't have to get dressed. And some days it is literally, we'll just charge your tablet 3 times today, because that's all you're up to doing.
And yes, you can play it while it's plugged in.
And quite frankly, my number 3 keeps breaking chargers, though, having them plugged in and then he moves his tablet around and snaps all the chargers. But that's an aside. You'll go through lots of charges as a homesteading parent. But yeah, so there is that of it can be more, no, maybe not more, but just a different shape of taxing and physically taxing.
And even also with this is something else that we experienced throughout the lockdown, actually, that we realized how much of school is wasted, how much time is spent not learning or not having lesson time or not doing things in lesson. My eldest, they were set the same amount of work that they would have done had they been at school, the same lessons and the same topics and things, and he romped through school in about an hour and a half every day.
Right.
And the rest, because he had the incentive that if I get through this, the rest of the day's mine, I can do what I like. So it just goes to show that it's kind of how much time is wasted. But what my point was with that was more of an aside, is that, again, in terms of that structure, my youngest loves maths. And we have the privilege, we have a maths tutor, which they absolutely adore, but they only do an hour and a half a week.
Yeah.
Because they're getting one-to-one. Yeah. They're not having to compete with 30 other children. There's no hiding. You can't hide when you're having a one-to-one session either. There's no, so they know exactly at what point they are and how well they're doing and things like that. And it's benefited them so much. And I think in terms of that thriving, the time and the space and the lack of demand from being at school and all the things that school brings with it in terms of the communication differences, the sensory differences, the just nominal dysregulation that they experience anyway, without all the bigger stuff. You can wear your fluffy jumpers at home as well. But so just stripping away those things, all of a sudden you have an arena within which you can thrive and your child can thrive as well.
So that's it. In some ways as well, because it can make
Rachel was far too distracted there, wasn't it?
But because for some children it can make a big difference of how many meltdowns they have and how overwhelmed they are, that it can actually save you spoons and energy to homestead your children, because you're not fighting against your child all the time
and fighting the school and fighting everybody else, and
as we were talking about last time.
But,
hi Rachel, how are you?
Rachel.
No.
Nothing.
I better lie down, can you tell? Oh, Ryan.
Actually, this is another thing that I like in my homestead days. And it varies whether my children will allow me to do it. But when they allow me to do it, I like to have a little nap, 2:30 in the afternoon. That's my prime nap time. My lunch has gone down. I've had a cup of tea. We've done whatever we were going to do. And I love a little nap in the afternoon. Perfect.
Yeah.
I was born a granny, I realised. I'm just waiting to be an old lady so that it's appropriate that I regularly need to nap.
I get poked and prodded.
So
I'm not allowed to nap.
Yeah, we did touch upon this earlier. My children don't always allow me to nap. My children do like to look at my relaxed face and think that is the face of a lady that needs to hear about the latest Xbox game in great detail
and at great length.
And they occasionally as well, they're not normally this mean, but occasionally they're really cunning. And they do things like, I've lost Rachel temporarily. And they do things like ask me for stuff because they know that I'm mostly asleep, and so I'll say yes. and then later on they were like, but you said yes, Mummy. You said that I could eat an entire packet of chocolate biscuits.
Where did that £100 go?
They're not that old yet.
Oh, they're not. Oh, you wait.
Biscuits is the worst of it, basically, and lollies. Oh, the bane of my life. As soon as the weather turns nice, it's the bane of my existence is how much we go through lollies. I wasn't going to talk to you about lollies. That wasn't one of my questions.
You can do. I like lollies.
my youngest, who was only 4, she seems to have stopped. I don't know if this is gonna jinx it now, but she had gone through weeks where she literally wakes up. She sleeps in my bed. So she literally wakes up. Mummy, what day is it? And I tell her what day it is. And then she says, what does that mean? And I tell her what we're doing for the day. And then she says, can I have a lolly for breakfast? And every single time the answer's no. and then she shouts at me. And I'm not a morning person. I really don't deal well with people waking me up and shouting at me. Dolly's in bone of my existence. Okay. Do you have any recommendations for books that you have read? Rachel, I'm going to open this out to you as well, because I know you read a lot of books through your study as well.
On any particular topic, or just
just generally for autistic parents? I mean, you can tell us about the latest crime thriller you've read if you want, but I was meaning more, have you come across or read any good books specifically for autistic adults, stroke autistic?
On my website, I have a list of about 150, and it grows every week. So to pick some out of that, I guess it depends on what the topic is that you're looking for. If you're looking for kind of stuff that's relatable, there's been some really good biographies out recently. All of them will disappear out of my head the moment I've said that. Hannah Gadsby's got a new one, which I haven't read yet, but I presume it's probably quite amusing.
The Road to Nanette, I think.
Yes, I think so. And it's not just about being autistic. I think it's about her self-discovery into being queer and other things as well. But and who else has had one? See, this happens. People ask me specifics like this, and it just disappears.
I don't like to pre-warn you with the questions in case they sound hurt.
Yeah, but ones like this, can you pre-warn me, please? And I'll have a list. Well, I do have a list. It's on my website.
Rachel, have you come across anything recently that you would like to share that you've really enjoyed or benefited from?
Oh, enjoyed or benefited from? I passed my year 2 of my master's in autism, which apparently not everybody passed. So it made me go, okay, so because I kind of didn't really feel very anything. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It kind of was a bit like, nah, which I'm not saying like but the second year for me was completely different to the first year. It's almost like it's a completely different course, but not. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the first delivered, like video, where the lecturer is just delivering via video and all the other students are on video and we can all chat on the messenger, a bit like this really.
Yeah.
And I'd never done that before and I was a bit anxious about it. And I was kind of craving the experience of education that I'd had, not realising it actually wasn't suitable for me. And I was just craving the familiarity and not the safety, because I was never feeling safe. But I experienced the unfamiliarity of the safety of video. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So it was a very strange thing. And then when they did the second year, the first year was on video because of COVID. Second year, you actually physically had to go in. I went in once. I never went in again after that. And it sounds really bad, but I never actually watched the clips either because I found it really hard.
Don't tell Luke.
We won't tell Luke. Luke's not here. It's okay.
It wasn't Luke. It was somebody else.
Oh, well, there we go then.
And I think it was the fact that I thought to myself, I've passed my second year of my MA with only going through one.
Such a good thing this isn't going out live, isn't it?
Yeah. You have to tell the whole world.
And I thought, one person said to me, oh, you're doing really well because you're autistic. It's basically cheating. I was just like, well, I suppose in a way it kind of is, but not, Yes. The thing I do very well on is referencing. I'm really shit at it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I hated referencing too.
So anyway, in tonight's news,
I've actually got see, I told you that I would try and manage the Facebook questions. There has actually been
you do. I just to rescue Rachel there, I dropped my blog link in the chat on the AP UK page, if you're watching this on one of the various other places it's been shared to. So the link's in there.
Thank you. That's marvellous. And then we've had a question in from Marcus. He says, how do you manage working from home and homeschooling?
Work? What would that be? I just shut the door, come up here and try not to listen to the screaming. No, that's not true. A lot of we're very lucky that both myself and my partner are self-employed, so we both work from home, like literally work from home. So we kind of manage the time together and try and give each other as much time and space as possible. It's just naturally kind of happened that as I've done what I've done over the years, that my needs of my business, I don't really like talking about it as a business, but it is a business, have become more than my partner's business, and actually her skills have kind of have enabled her to kind of slot into mine, so we share a business now, really. So Michelle does a lot of the background stuff and things like that, so that enables us to I have specific times like now when I'm doing something where I actually need to be there. So then Michelle's off at the moment kind of doing dinner and looking after the all of them, because they're both all the other two are home from school now. So in a normal kind of day, she will be there doing it, and then we flip. If there's stuff that she needs to do, then I just make sure that my diary time is completely blocked out so nobody can book anything in, and then I'm dad. So I'm not, and it's difficult because it's but this is like when you're self-employed anyway, your working hours are never 9 till 5. It's like, but part of the reason that staying up late and working late and maybe getting up early, if you are a morning person before the kids wake up and stuff like that, it's actually okay to do that. It's okay to structure your day like that, because that's one of the reasons that many of us are self-employed in the first place. Yeah. Because we can't manage those office hours and can't do those office hours. We need to work when we need to work, and we need to give ourselves the freedom to get into flow, to be monotropic, and yes, to not be disturbed and stuff. And sometimes the middle of the night is the best time to do that. And so your work-life balance changes, but because you like doing what you do, it doesn't matter. Yeah. Because it doesn't for me, really, because I'm doing what I'm passionate about, and this is my hobby, this is my special interest, take that time. But this is the thing that I'm really interested in. So I don't mind doing it at 3 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. So it's just getting that balance, and it's really hard getting that dynamic. And again, that does come with the privilege that there are two of us, so we can share that time, and it becomes ultimately more difficult when, I would imagine, when there's only one of you.
Yeah, I was going to say, because my partner and I are similar. He isn't self-employed, but he works completely from home and has a degree of flexibility. And I only do very small amounts of work, so we kind of work it out between two of us. But I have had friends who are single parents caring for their children, working from home, and home educating their children. So some people have got parents who can help, which is marvelous, or other close relatives or friends that they can share. There are home editing. If you meet up with other home editing parents, we're often quite happy to take other children for certain amounts of time. I actually quite like having other children, because the other children will entertain my children, and it's quite often easier for me to have people in my house than to not have people in my house. So so other home editing parents might be able to have your children for certain amounts of times, and there are home education childminders. So if you have a completely standard job that you just need to do with set hours, you can get childminders to come in, and kind of, as we were talking about with Tanya last time, you can use DLA money for it if your children are also disabled and you're able to claim DLA for them. You can apply, you can sometimes get things like that through personal budgets on EHCPs, but it is a bit hen's teeth and it's quite hard to get hold of. So yeah, sorry, go on, Rachel, you probably know more about that than I do. Go on.
Direct payments include that, and it comes under the title of respite.
There we go. Thank you. That's
You're-
marvelous, and I can hear you. Your sound is working, so that's marvelous. Yeah, so there's a few options for trying to make things work, but it will be a juggle. We always say this,
and it's never going to be easy either, is it? And that's I think recognizing that just because one person can do it in a particular way doesn't mean that that's going to work for you. You've really got to find your own path through that. And as your children get older, hopefully they will become more self-sufficient in whatever they're doing, and you can set things for them and then disappear, or they can even set things for themselves if they're really good at self-directed learning. And so you can be around and maybe be working, but be ready to step in if you need to step in, and things like that. So the dynamic changes as they grow and become kind of enabled to become kind of to have more agency and stuff like that over what they're doing. So yeah. So, but just don't plan. Because it will never last. It will never work. The moment you plan, it all goes to pot. So
go on, Rachel.
Sorry. I was wanting to add about the direct payments that you get through social services. They do an assessment and decide on like how much you get, which is based on how many hours support you need. So Harry's waving at me. What was the saying? Direct payments. Oh yeah. So I get 17 hours now, but it started off with only 7, which I'm not saying only 7 here, but it was like 7 hours. And then it's gone up to 17 hours, and it's like, oh, that's much better. And I get that money, and I can't do whatever I like with it. I mean, I was going to go buy myself a Porsche. That's not how much.
Someone's actually put in the comments that they thought direct payments were just for PAs. Can you use it for a select things?
So I'm using for my PA, but I'm also using it because of me being dyslexic, for someone supporting me. Filling in paperwork. Yeah, so if I need help filling in paperwork for EHCP, which is most of it, because let's be honest, it's all like, what? What are they asking of me? Oh, they want your heart and soul. Okay.
It's right in blood.
Yeah, I haven't done EHCPs, but I've done DLA forms, and DLA forms give me the you just I'd like to sign. If I could just sign this in blood and not fill the form in, that would be loads easier.
Yeah. And like blue badges, like you just like a list of things that you have to apply for. That in itself is a full-time job. And then I have to employ somebody to help me. Do you know, you just looked at my life of like, have to do this, but need that help. Do this, need help. Do that, need help. Just going, well, you've done a master's. Yeah. But what about Stephen Hawkins? He was clever, but he needed support. I don't understand, people's logic. I'll call it logic because it's not logic.
I read a bit about Einstein a while ago as well, that he was very, very looked after by his wife. That he would forget to eat, so she would regularly come into his room, but it was a piece around. They split up for a while, and he wrote her a letter it was like trying to entice her back, and then you read the letter and you go, that's not enticement, but apparently she came back anyway. I think they had lots of children together, but it was like, you can come into my office to bring me a sandwich, but you must come in silently and leave the sandwich exactly 6 inches from my eye line, kind of thing. Like, you can come and give me food, but don't talk to me and don't touch me, but I need to be fed. You can come into my office after I've left and remove any debris and dirty clothing. And it was like, he was really...
How kind of him.
Yeah, but when we think, we always talk about his achievements, and we don't talk about the support that he needed to reach that. And I don't think it's uncommon that a lot of the people who reach these kind of astronomical levels is because they never make sandwiches.
And he failed school.
Yes,
he left school. He left school at an early age as well, because he couldn't cope with school.
Yeah.
You said if you showed like the hidden side, that people would almost like go, right, well, their value has suddenly gone like this.
Yes.
But see, that's the danger. I mean, that's the thing. This is like, I don't want to go off on functioning levels, but that's that assumption, isn't it? That people look at us three here talking, having a conversation, and think, well, they've got their lives together and they can do whatever they want and they can handle everything. And it's like, no, No, all you can see is this snapshot of a screen with
Yeah.
this is a microcosm of my life, and the same for you guys. And it's no one sees what goes on off camera and those things. And we can talk about things, but people also don't tend to believe that that's what's happening. I mean, they don't believe that. I mean, many people don't believe that, like, we melt down.
Yeah.
Or that, like, Christy Forbes talks all the time about when she melts down, she sits and rocks in a corner and bashes her head.
Yeah.
She engages in the activity, and maybe that's the same for others as well, but she engages in the activity that people apply to their severely autistic children or their low functioning children. And then they say, you're not like my child. And it's like, actually, I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hate that, because I go, I'm 44, I'm a female, and I was born in 1978. Your child was born like 3 years ago.
Yeah. Probably not that much like a 3-year-old.
Are you thinking about our plan there, Ruth?
And then you go,
but that's right. And we've touched upon it.
Oh, you were comparing me.
Yeah. But we touched upon it a few times before, haven't we? That spiky profile, that just because somebody can sit and have a conversation doesn't mean that they can make a sandwich, or just because somebody can make a sandwich doesn't mean that they can pay the gas bill. Or
sandwich when it was quiet, but when everyone was firing questions at me, I could not make a sandwich.
I can't either.
I often get people going, but you did it yesterday.
Yes.
But I can't today.
Yes. I did that. I literally did that yesterday. My youngest asked me for a drink, and I went to pour the juice in their bottle, and they were talking to me at the same time, and I poured the whole bottle of juice down the sink, literally holding the bottle in my hand, and poured the juice because I couldn't focus on the two things at the same time.
Yeah, I go like this. I start to get jittery, and when I get jittery, I'm soon going to blow.
I see what I've done a few times recently, and that is when people are talking to me in the kitchen while I'm trying to cook dinner, is repeatedly make myself cups of tea, and only realise that I've only just made myself a cup of tea when I go to throw the tea bag out, because tea for me is an automatic, and so my brain just does the same thing every time. I don't need to think about it, and I go and I throw the tea bag in the bin, and then realise that what's on top of the bin is an incredibly full hot cup of tea that I just made, and then I've just made another one in my I fancy a cup of tea, small child, because it just my brain went, you're making a cup of tea while your child talks to you. So I become, it's either Aesop's fables, or it might be in Arabian Nights, that a tale of somebody who they get a blessing offered to them, and they say, I just want to do the same thing that I'm doing at sunrise until the sun sets, and she counts rugs. And so she's only got like 6 rugs, but she starts counting the rugs at sunrise, and then of course she's got 500 by the end of the day, and then somebody else copies her, and they end up cutting things, and they snip their whole house up. But that's me. I'm just repeatedly making cups of tea. I'm like, just tea.
It's that distraction, is it? So you're on your loop of routine, and then they've distracted you, and you've not made them. You go, oh, jump. So it's basically a broken record with the little glitch that makes the needle jump, that then makes the tea jump, tea, jump, tea.
Yes.
You could work in a cafe, you'd be great. Tea, tea.
Oh, except for
only a tea cafe.
That only works for a small amount of time as well. I make half cups of tea, and before I don't make any tea, and you put tea in the curry, and yeah.
Just in this cafe, don't ask Rachel to make the sandwiches.
Don't ask.
No. Yeah, I'm always like this when I'm trying to do stuff in the kitchen, then there's child coming, and then another one. Mummy, can you do the password? The password. Can Dad have a go? Mum. I'm like this going, right, my name's not Mummy anymore.
And then they wonder why their dinner's burnt.
Yes, I get that as well. How have you burnt my dinner?
Oh, Mummy, can I have an ice cream? Oh, I'm sorry, we're selling those at 2, and it's like 2:15 now, so
No, I mean, I'm like that. That's like, dinner is like one of the worst times. I do most of the cooking. So I have one child that comes and asks me incessant questions. I have another child that comes and needs hugs while I'm trying to cook. And then I have another one that needs to just monologue for like an hour over something that they enjoy. And then they complain because their dinner's like overcooked or it's burnt, or because I'm like, I don't know what to do. I've got three people talking to me and I'm trying to do this thing, and I've got a koala attached to me, and it's like,
video it, like, you know, like as if it's a CCTV, and then play it back to them and go, right, questions. Did you notice
on tonight's Crime Watch, how did dinner get there? Was it suspect number 1, suspect number 2, or suspect number 3? No, we have a murder on the Orient Express situation. It was all of you. You all killed dinner.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'm like that.
Somebody has put in the comments, my daughter had a social care act assessment, and the social worker asked, can you dress yourself? Yes is the answer, but didn't realise she would sleep in them or change her clothes about 10 times till she feels comfortable, which again,
I've got loads of clothes just like, no, that, hate that. And then finally, and then like even like 10 minutes later, come back and I've changed my clothes again. You'll find socks just randomly left around the house that obviously haven't been worn, that I've just gone, oh, like, oh, get off me, and then gone back and got another pair. It is, you know, have you seen that film where the girl leaves like little bits of water of varying levels in the house? Signs, I think it's called.
Oh yes.
Yeah,
with the aliens. Yeah,
I remember watching that and someone went, that's you. Do that.
It's not aliens, just ADHD.
There is no invasion. It's just Rachel.
One of my children takes, and I find this so weird, puts socks on every morning and then takes them off one at a time. And by that, I mean, takes one off, wanders around the house for hours with one sock, which my idea is, hell, how do you cope with wearing one sock? And then only when I point it out to them that they are wearing one sock, will take the other sock off. And then again, you get the questions of, well, why haven't I got any pairs of socks clean?
Yeah.
One is in the
one more, one other.
And none are in the laundry basket. So they didn't get washed.
We need more videos.
Sorry, say that again, Rachel.
More videos of like, this is why your socks are like wearing one more than the other, because you're wearing the one sock while walking around.
One sock. See, I'm one of there's about 5 days a year where I don't wear fluffy socks. It has to be so hot that I actually find it unpleasant, and even then I'll probably wear them in the kitchen because my kitchen's quite cold and I hate the cold floor.
I'm exactly like that as well. I can't. We've got 2 cats and a cat litter tray, and I cannot bear because like they take it in turns and they wait for me to go in the kitchen. They dive in the cat litter tray and then flick the litter everywhere across the room and stuff. And it's like, nope. And I have to clean the floor, and I couldn't possibly walk anywhere without any socks on it. It's just
yeah.
I'm the same dog. My dog we used to have like the bigger biscuits, because the small ones are much more expensive because they like to make more money on small dogs. Yeah. Anyway, so she'd chew them up, bits of biscuit everywhere. I couldn't come into my socks all the time. But if you wear those thick socks that have got like complex layers, like lots of fluffy loops, trying to get them out of there and then figure out where it is in all those layers, and then you put your sock back on and it still hasn't got all of it, because my feet weirdly like to tell me more than I need, or more than I want, or not need to, more than I want to be aware of. So you're like trying to figure out, like this, where it is. And because as you get older, your eyesight goes, you're all like this going, can anybody actually see? And there's nothing in it. I'm like, there is, look, there.
We all know that yet another children's fairy tale, Princess and the Pea. Princess and the Pea is just autistic, and that's my daughter as well. My eldest daughter, she literally can feel a single grain of sand in her shoe.
Yeah.
She will know that it is there, and it is unbearable.
Yeah.
And I have that thing where I have that logical mind that goes, right, if someone was asking me about this, what would I say? I would say, be kind, be patient. It's a genuine issue for her. It really is causing her lots.
Where this is going.
And then you have but in this moment, this is actually really annoying for me.
There is no sand.
A single grain of sand that cannot be perceived by anything outside of a microscope, and your foot. I don't know what you want me to do with your shoes because we're in Tesco. I don't even have a vacuum because we're in Tesco. I mean, we have just many times walked in Tesco with no shoes on, which I'm sure people look at me and go, wow, there is a mother who obviously doesn't care for her children, but it's actually just a mother who cares for her sanity. It's one of those things.
Thought about naming the things, like giving them a name so they become
Jeffrey. We're looking for Jeffrey.
Jeffrey the sand.
Jeffrey the invisible sand.
Yeah. Sandy, that's it.
Sandy. Well, that would have been more obvious probably, wouldn't it?
Then do the dance to Grease Lightning. Get all about it.
It would depend. Sometimes that novelty approach works, and sometimes you can turn it into something novel and something silly and get away with it. It's like,
depends where you are.
But other times, that's it. Other times you attempt novelty, and what was a level 4 problem becomes a level 9 problem, and
it explodes in your face.
Know about it.
Yeah.
And you go, I should not have attempted novelty. I should have just gone straight for just have bare feet, darling. It's not a problem. I feel that sometimes on these lives, that particularly when we're talking about parenting things, we tend to give that nice, calm, logical voice. And I just want to let everybody in Facebook land know that certainly for me, and I'm sure Kieran and Rachel will agree, we don't live in that place all the time.
Nobody lives in that place.
No. And in fact, what I've found myself doing a few times recently is getting frustrated with my kids about, general things. Why are you having a meltdown right now when I'd rather that you weren't? And then the same voice in my head is telling me off, but you're being a bad parent because you know that this is not the right way to handle this, and you know the better way to handle this. Why aren't you handling this better? Because I'm tired. And it's the bed.
Think that. Do you go to bed like thinking about that, going, all right? It's almost like it's the voice of the person who like announces the films that are and what the film is about with a really deep voice. Today you were a really good parent and you did that better and blah blah blah. And I'm always like, I could have done that. I have to.
And now here's your highlight reel.
Highlight reel of all the ways that you were shit today.
Yes.
I do try. I do genuinely do this. Do try, if it's really bothering me, to talk to the child and like, even if it's a while. I mean, it has to be a while later because you're not going to do that mid meltdown, but to actually go up several hours later and say
sorry,
I didn't handle that well, this was what was going on for me, it wasn't okay, I should have done this instead, I'm sorry that I didn't help immediately, it wasn't, it wasn't.
That's a really important point. We apologize to our kids all the time. Because we mess up all the time, because we're just human beings, and we trigger them and they trigger us, and we trigger each other, and that's the reality of living as a family, let alone a neurodivergent family. And it becomes more important for the adults to model that and actually to be accountable for our behavior as well, and to show the kids that we mess up and that it's okay to mess up, and as long as you own that, or as long as at least you talk that through if there's nothing to own. And it's absolutely so important.
Yeah, absolutely, totally agree.
It's a serious point with all that.
It was. But it was one, actually, it's been helpful, obviously, learning about neurodivergence. But even before I realised that we were a neurodivergent family, it was something And my parents were all right at it. My parents didn't do that superhero thing. They were okay. They didn't apologize loads, but they were okay. But I had friends who had those, no, my parents are perfect human beings. They never make mistakes. Everything they did is wonderful. All I need to do is just be like my parents. And then especially when you age out of school and you start getting older and their parents get divorced or their parents lose their job, and they suddenly get that, like, just, it cracks them, do you know, just breaks them as a human. I don't know who I am because my parents aren't perfect. And I've just melted. And it was something, even before I had kids, I'm never going to let my children think that I'm perfect. Always going to let my children know that I'm a human and I make mistakes all the time and do things wrong all the time and I lose my temper and I have sad days and happy days and weird days.
Yeah, I've started like making fun of myself when I do something wrong.
Yeah.
Kind of help them mirror how to respond to doing something wrong.
Okay.
So I'll be like, oh my goodness, please don't tell me I put the keys in the fridge. Right. Oh, come on, have a look. Oh, I've excelled myself. They're not in the fridge. Right. Right, we go to the key cupboard. Oh, they're in the key cupboard. I'm so good, but I still think I'm not good. I actually put the keys, not the peas, the P. Imagine if I put them in the cupboard. Yeah,
it's a possibility, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about the pea in the mattress, you know. Anyway, yeah, so yeah, but the other thing is I remember growing up thinking that my parents were like you say, everything that they did and everything that they said must be true because they're never wrong. And then when you grow up and you realise, oh, they were, because they were about saying it. And they're still not okay about saying it. And that's okay because that means that they're not okay about themselves. And it was never about me. It was about their not okayness. Doesn't make it right, but it gives an explanation that helps me get over that.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And then they're kind of like, okay, so when I make a mistake, we will make light of it and I will apologise and I will feel okay about apologising. And I will reiterate that apologising is difficult because it's a strength.
Yeah.
Like the path of least resistance is unlikely to be the right one or whatever the saying is. But I always think, you know, if you think, yeah, I messed up and explain why and say sorry and, you know, I should have done it better or whatever. Yeah, but that's it, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's about accountability.
Accountability. Yeah. And also being willing to change and to adapt things and to, that's all part of accountability, isn't it? Is saying, not only do I know that I didn't do this right, but I'm happy to talk to you about how we could do this better.
Yeah.
Actually, this goes back to the first thing we were talking about with home education. That it's okay, that's fine. We have a maths tutor as well, and for my eldest son, I was hoping that he would get not a maths, functional maths, which is the equivalent of grade C maths, but it doesn't have quite so many of the odd, completely non-practical things that GCSEs have in them. Mm-hmm. And so that's what the maths tutor been working with them. And my son was getting more and more and more resistant to maths and finding it harder and harder and harder to sit down with the tutor and go through stuff. And the tutor's my mum, so that helps. She is a qualified maths teacher. And so she was trying every different way that she could think of to make it fun and exciting and interactive, and finding different software and programs and practical things and days out. That just, it was getting worse and worse. And it got to a point where my mum sat me down and went, I don't actually know that I can do this. Like, finds this so unpleasant, that I find this so unpleasant that it's making me want to cry. I don't know what I can do. And I had to like, what am I doing? The whole reason I home educate my kids is so that they can learn what they want and not learn what they don't want. And I spoke with her, and I spoke with my son, and I just went, do you know what, this is me, this isn't you at all, is it? This is me. I would like you to have a maths qualification, but if you don't want you to have a maths qualification, then don't. You don't need to do this kind of maths if you don't want to. We've taken just over a month off, where what we've been doing with the tutor, well, my mum, but in her tutor time, not as mum time, is going out. We've gone out to museums, and we've gone out to cathedrals, and you know, we've just done fun. I mean, still loosely educational, but just fun, practical stuff. And then we're looking at what he wants to learn. But it was just those, like, wait,
you've had to unschool him from yourself.
the problem is me here. There is no issue here. The problem is me. I just need to let go of my hope that you would get a formal qualification at age 14. Just whatever. Don't. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. My 8, and he has just started like being interested in numbers and letters. I've never like forced it. Other people, you can see that they've got this thing about going, so what's 1 and 1 and 5 and 5? And it's like, oh my God, he's not a performing monkey. And then like with words, what does that say? What does that say? And I'm like, oh my gosh, just don't, you know, he'll just do it when he's ready. And he did. And I was like, I'm so glad I didn't push. But a lot of stuff I did kind of, you know, like the homework thing when he first started school. I was a bit like, we had one time where I said, right, let's try and do this homework. We had a bit of an argument, and I just thought it really isn't worth this, you know. It really started to get like where I was like, this is starting to create a divide between me and my son. So yeah. I don't want to do this. And then the thing that really did it for me was the amount of negative experiences that I had with health professionals who, when I realised that their managers were not the people to complain to, because they would just back up the people who are doing things wrong. And this happens in every single thing, as I've discovered. And that in itself just made me go, George was right. My friend George, who passed away, I think it's like, how long ago is it now? 4 years ago? 5 years ago. Anyway, he always said to me, because he was on the front line in the Second World War, and he said from being in the Second World War, when he realised that the people who were in positions of power sending men out to places where they were just going to die, and George spoke up and said, look, you know, if you do this, that this is going to happen. They didn't like him for it, because he was making life difficult for them, because they just wanted to send these men out. And he was saying, well, these men are just going to die, you know. And so when George came out and started working in schools, he wouldn't let his children like go to guides or anything like that, wouldn't have anyone in positions of power working with his children, because his experiences. And I was just sort of thinking, yeah, it's just this, it's exactly the same. I mean, it's not the World War, but it's the same structure of this authority thing. And that's why I was thinking, I really value my autistic, you know, taking things at face value and always, you know, viewing things without that background of judgment, you know?
Yeah.
And like when people say, oh, you know, you're a bit naive or whatever, and it's like, it swings and roundabouts, you know, there are positives and negatives to everything. It's just, it depends on what area that you're choosing to focus on. And for me, I feel that my need for, so like my, you know, moral compass and knowing what is right and wrong, and that strong sense of wanting justice, it just makes me go, there are so many things about being autistic that are positive, and I hate how the negative is basically sold because it makes money. And it's just like but
it also
it's the same pattern that just seems to spread through everything. You just go, what, you know?
It's not, it goes into your earlier point as well, that by selling the deficit-based model around autism, it's not just that you can make more money out of it, it's also more convenient, because then you can say to autistic people and the people that care for them and have influence over them, you just need to be more neurotypical, and then everything will be easier for everybody. And what they mean is then you'll be easier for me.
Yeah.
And it isn't
Well, they wouldn't do that about a flower, would they? If you're like gardening and you're saying, oh, they're just not growing, they're not growing. And then someone who is like an expert in gardening would say, well, it's because you're not growing them in the correct environment. Oh, okay, I'll move them. No, they start growing. Why don't they just associate that with people?
Yes, that's it.
It's
environment, you know, you're going, oh, why is this so complicated?
well, that's
people. Okay, let's just talk about brains then. Like you talk about a seed, let's talk about brains and remove the person that you seem to just forget that, you know, I don't know. I find it like going, it's almost like you can see something, nobody else can see it, and you're going, but it's there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
isn't that the definition of being autistic?
Yeah. Maybe I should change my slides.
What?
Being able to see the blatantly obvious and being baffled as to why nobody else can see it. Yeah.
My now 4-year-old, he was able to speak quite early, and so I taught him to say, I see dead people. Because I wanted to go into a lift and him to say it. Yeah. Yeah. Don't worry, social services have visited now.
It's only freaking out other people. It's fine.
Dead people, but it was a word that sounded similar, and I was just thinking, if he said that in a lift and he just came out with it, I was like, that'd be so amazing. Anyway, sorry.
Especially if she pretended he was there on his own as well.
My mum.
Does he belong to you?
It's his child, is it?
Glasses. Oh.
What you'd have to do though is you'd have to dress him up like a Victorian child.
Or like
with a balloon.
A little cap.
What's his name? What's the boy's name from that film? Or
I can see his face. I can't remember his name.
Or
Haley Joel Osment.
that's
That's
it.
the one, isn't it?
Well done. Yeah.
Yeah.
If we do a pub quiz, Kieran Rose, your name is now down.
Except if we ask him,
That's my only answer to everything.
we'd had a comment come through before we went off on the tangent about dead people. The problem is that autistic people are too often not seen as people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's true of all marginalised communities that it's dehumanisation, isn't it? And it's convenience. It's easier to see people, not as humans.
Does it like remove that kind of moral and like responsibility, that sense of responsibility to go, oh right, okay.
Yes, I think
well, only for like 40 years, but suddenly you tells me you're autistic. Well, I don't know now. I like in some sort of, I don't know, illusion. That's like, oh my gosh,
I think there's like a fundamental it's because of the fear of difference. So to dehumanize someone makes them controllable and manageable. It's like you've boxed them and you know that there's this is how they are different, so therefore I can put them over there, and then that's okay to do that. And I can, if I treat them badly, it doesn't matter because I box them now and they're not like me. And it's
is this into like problems, because I often think that like the autism combined with the ADHD and just my general character. I said that, but I often think that people ask me questions and I can sort of see in their faces that they've just gone, oh crap, I should not
do that,
because the answer is going to be, well, I'm not ready to hear because I just
I think with carrying on from your point as well, Kieran, I see it a lot when we reduce people to statistics.
Yeah.
So when we start saying, but this only affects 2% of the population
only,
and therefore, and you can see that next thought is, so I don't need to care. because 98% of people aren't affected by this, and so I'll just care about the 98% of people.
Yeah.
And it happens a lot, and again, it goes back to what we talked about earlier within official structures and systems, is that people are reduced to statistics, and then any minority statistic is just knocked off.
Yeah.
This only affects those people, and they can just, off they go in their little box, in their little statistic, because they're not the majority.
Because they're a small number.
They're just a small number, and the most people are still okay, so we're still successful, so we just don't need to worry about those people.
Which comes back to kind of, you know, I've probably said it before a lot of times, but the systems around us aren't broken. They're working perfectly. They're doing exactly what they were designed to do. And yes, they fail people, but that doesn't mean that the systems are broken.
No.
It just means that they're deliberately designed to exclude certain people. And if their people fall off, it doesn't matter. It's because the majority of the people are being served.
Yes, absolutely. Do you know, it's one of my issues with the education system. I'm determined today to bring everything back to education. I'm sorry, it's the way the conversation is going. Well, certainly the way my brain is going. That the grades, and whether they give them letters or numbers makes no difference. By grading people, you are guaranteeing that a significant portion of people don't pass. That a significant portion of people fail. By definition, our entire education system is set up to fail a significant portion of the people in it.
Yeah.
It just blows my mind that we haven't done something about that, and we haven't created an education system that everybody leaves it having succeeded. And
that's a circle of privilege, though, isn't it? Because that's rewarding people who fit into that system. Yes. So therefore, if you reward those people, they're more likely to try and fit that system, and then the people who can't fall along the wayside, and then they don't re-enter that system at any point, because it's just selectively rewarding people all the way through. And it's and that comes to privilege, because then in order to access a system like academia, you need a certain level of probably parental education beyond that. And there are outliers, obviously there are outliers, but it's kind of, it systemically reinforces privilege all the time.
Exactly. It perpetuates it, doesn't it? Because people then, that system works for them, they're less likely to fight against it and try and change it. They're more likely to perpetuate it and try and make it work for their children, or make their children work for it more accurately, and so on and so on and so on and so on. And that's it. That's how privilege carries on, and carries on being invisible, because the system hides it. Because either you're succeeding within the system and you're privileged, or you're not succeeding within the system and you're invisible, because you're a statistic and you're by the wayside and you're not in those spaces. Which
is where double empathy comes in, and it's applied to all sorts of different marginalized groups, because when you're in that system and you're not facing the barriers that other people face, you might be aware of them, but you've not had that experience, so you don't step out of your lanes in order to make yourself uncomfortable, because otherwise that rocks the boat for you.
Yes, you start looking around at the bits of the system that do work for you, or if you're in a position where the majority of the system works for you, and going, oh, even though it works for me, it really shouldn't, and I really shouldn't be in it, and I really shouldn't be perpetuating it, and I really shouldn't be allowing my children to go in it. Sorry, go on, Rachel.
No, it's okay. I'm just thinking that's something that I do, and I fight the corners of people who, regardless of what relationship I have with them, if I feel what is happening is not okay, I will stand up and say, this is not okay. And I think that in society, there's not enough of that. And anybody who does do it, depending on what situation they do it in, is rewarded heavily and like raised on this platform as like, oh, hero. But then if I do something for, say, one person because another person has been horrible to them, then I'm like, what's the word? Grayed out. Like my value goes down because I've supported somebody else, because I've made them feel uncomfortable. And I'm always just like, but I'm always told to treat the way I wish to be treated. So here we are, treating you how I wish to be treated. but then you're being funny with me because of what I've done, because you seem to think, well, the rest of the stuff you did, you were doing it for good, and because I pulled you up on something, that therefore I'm saying all of the stuff is rubbish, which I'm not. I'm saying that this autistic person can't be involved in this because of that, and if you took away that, then this person could access it. But rather than seeing me as, oh, useful insights, help us accommodate, it's taken as a personal attack. And I'm always just like,
Yeah,
wow.
you're destructive, you're a problem, you're a...
Yeah. But when you say that people are praised for challenging the system or improving the system or creating more accessibility in the system, I think it only ever happens historically. We only ever do it after they died. Most of them tend to have a horrible time when they're alive, and most of them tend to be vilified. If we take a prime example, somebody like Martin Luther King, who is now held on a pedestal as look at the amazing achievements, look at the amazing things that he moved forward and highlighted and brought about. But we seem to forget he was assassinated. He was so strongly disliked that somebody shot him. Like most people throughout history that disrupt systems aren't well liked at the time. They're only liked by the time that people can see the improvement in the system.
Yeah.
When we get to a point where people go, oh, that was a good change, actually. I'm glad they made us do that.
It's a bit late.
Exactly, but it tends to be after they die.
That because they have a filter. So they miss the details that we would see, and they don't see it till later. Does that make sense? So like we have a delay in the sense that because we've got so much trolley full of data to process and they only have a handheld thing, where you say, well, I'd rather be that because you get through it quicker. Well, depending on what situation you're in, if you're a detective in a murder case, this way is better, not that way. Because this way you've got all of the data. That way there are bits missing. You do get a conclusion, but the conclusion that we reach, yes, it takes longer, but I bet it's faster than having to redo this again because they still haven't come to the right conclusion, you know? So I'm just like, well, to me that would be obvious, you know, what a lot of the things that I think are problematic to me just seems so simple and easy to just change. Why can't we just do that? Oh, well, we can't. Why can't we?
Yeah, I get lots of
good looking into research and how that's done and stuff, and I'm just going, oh my gosh.
Yeah, academia is a perfect example of that.
I'm thinking, what? So for me to be the researcher and involve the people who I'm doing research on, and to listen to their points of view and experiences, and to accommodate them, and also include my own experiences and opinions, that's not okay. Why?
But don't forget, Rachel, when you write it up, you have to use the most inaccessible and ridiculous language as well that nobody on the average person can understand or make sense of.
The problem that I have when I get feedback, I go, but you're saying that my content is excellent and I make some really interesting points, but because I've not referenced it properly, I've had a load of points taken away. Oh, crap.
That's that system of privilege again, though, isn't it? It's that if you have to fit that system, and it's the same in the education system. It doesn't flex. You have to do things in a certain way.
You can just read your stuff out, but my speech, I'd have to keep stopping, and then I'd forget what I've been bloody said. What have I just said? And it's just like, right, okay, so what I would like is to be able to sit with, say, 2 tutors and then just to ask me questions like what we're doing now. That's the way my brain works.
Yeah.
They will trigger the file, poof, file, poof, and just keep doing that. I mean, why can't I just show that I know the stuff without having to say where I got it from? I understand I want to credit people, but I'm not saying that this is all my idea. This is me sharing my experiences, the things that I've learned, and most of the stuff, because I struggle with reading. So a lot of what I learn is from like TikTok because it's short clips of people talking, and you can just, a repetition.
Well, this was why I asked Kieran about books at the beginning, because I'm a nightmare. I couldn't tell you the last time I read a book. I read loads of articles and I watch videos, and I do drink in information all the time, but it's almost never in the form of a book, because
and then you asked me about books and I couldn't remember any of the titles.
We'll put the link on. The link's
I'll put the link,
I
the
know
link's
that
in there. There's some really good books on that link.
But we get asked about it. So you get asked about it as Autistic Parents UK, and Aisha's great because she reads lots of books. But it's just not me. I could show you some blogs, or in fact, I could tell you what I found interesting about some blogs that I might be able to find again, or may never be able to access.
See, this is my problem with blogs. I read the most amazing blogs, forget to bookmark them, and can never ever find them again. And it's okay if it's someone with a bit of a platform, and that you scour for their website, but I quite often can't remember what the websites are called and things. And there's so many brilliant pieces I've read by autistic people that I know are there, but they're just lost to me, and I don't know where they are.
Screenshots.
Yeah.
But the trouble with screenshots is that then you end up with 42 billion screenshots.
I know. And then you have to take the time to file them somewhere. Otherwise, they just get mixed up with everything. Because I screenshot loads of stuff all the time. It's all there.
I just keep buying more memory. Every time it says, oh, you've run out of memory, you need to pay another £1.60 a month to have some more memory. I go, oh, okay, then that's fine. Just store another 4 billion photos.
I know, that's like, like you get the free, like I've got like a Samsung phone, so you get like the free Samsung Drive, and then you get Google Drive, and like all mine are full.
Yeah.
It's literally full of screenshots.
This is how, like when our grandparents' generation and older, this is the kind of people that have just stacks of newspaper hanging. I have
hoarders, but digitally.
Electronic hoarding. So my children either have the option to go through and see if they would like any of their childhood photos, screenshots, and anything else that I found interesting and stored on my phone, or whether they just want to hit delete. But I've probably got another 50 years before I die, and they need to make.
Do you know what? The next few generations are never going to have the problem that us and our forebears had of when someone dies, going through all these photo albums and not knowing who everyone is, because there just won't be any photos. They'll be lost in these clouds somewhere. And
or if you do want to access, it's all tagged anyway. Oh
yeah,
no,
just go on Facebook. They're all on there.
Granny, yeah.
Or spending time sat in front of a screen with your life ticking away, going, da, da, da. Oh, the same one. Oh, we've repeated this one. Oh, she got copies of that. Oh, wow. Oh, my goodness.
Why she got 8 screenshots of the same meme? Found it funny 8 times.
My phone camera's like that, though, because my phone camera now doesn't just take a photo. It takes like 20 photos of the same thing, split seconds apart. So now I've got like 20 photos, and then you have to go through. Oh, I hate it.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
If my kids ever watch this after I died, I'm actually not even sorry. This is revenge for the sand in the shoe. I tell you what we are talking about is the fact that we've gone over by about 15 minutes. So thank you very much. We will finish up here. This was a bit of a rambly one. If you would like us to have a less rambly one in the future, then send us through some questions, and then I will try to be more direct in what I ask Kieran. It was lovely to have you, Kieran. Thank you for your contributions. It was lovely.
It's a pleasure as always.
For your contributions, and for anybody in Facebook land, we do monitor the comments for another couple of days, so if you want to ask any questions or add any thoughts in there, you will probably get a reply from an Autistic Parents UK person. Thank you all very much. Take care. Oh, we've got Pete Warmby next month, so look out for that. We've got a webinar coming up with Pete Warmby.
He's got 2 books.
See, read Pete Warmby's books and his Twitter, and then come and watch him on our webinar.
Audio.
Bye.
Bye.